tid.
Ching chang ching lutilej.
Omkring ham dalede sneen hvid.
Ching chang ching lutilej.
Welcome to This Week in Our Collective Heads. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin.
And we're here giving you gaming news. In this case, we're on the main quest. The main quest this week, we want to discuss, and we had some viewer feedback on this, so it kind of combines with Totes. We're going to discuss open world games. What makes an open world game? What are some of the first? What games defined the genre as we view it today?
Yeah, and some people were bringing up Metroid. I don't think that. I think that Metroid is not an open world game because of the way that it gates off certain areas until you get a certain thing. Like there's not really a point at which you're like, oh, I have access to everything until you're almost at the end of the game. So it is linear in a sense. You can sequence break it. You can run around. You can do different things at different times. And sometimes there's secrets and passageways that you can get around things.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the main game is a gated sequence of events that you follow.
Yes, like Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't consider Final Fantasy 13 an
corridor.
open world. It's a corridor, yeah.
But Zelda, on the other hand, Legend of Zelda, the original Zelda,
Yes.
you can head straight to the first dungeon, like from the moment you wake up or appear, spawn. I don't know how you came into the world in the original Legend of Zelda, but yeah, when you first enter Legend of Zelda, you can go get a sword. I don't think you can beat that one without a sword. I did see a run of Link to the Past beaten without a sword.
How did you do that?
It was a bugnet.
Ah, okay.
Bugnet, arrows, and the hammer mostly. Yeah. And it was really amazing. But yeah, Legend of Zelda, like you can go straight to the first dungeon, or you can run around. You can have 8 hearts before you enter the first dungeon. You can do the dungeons out of order. You can do all kinds of interesting things. But the world as a whole is open to you. There's some things that you shouldn't do.
Sure.
But it does allow you to go to all these different places, and that's also part of the reason that like the Dark Souls games are not open world, because you can go in certain areas, you can sequence break or whatever, but you have to beat this boss to get to this area. You have to beat this boss to get to that boss and you can sequence break, but the world as a whole doesn't open to you.
Exactly. Like GTA 5 is Sandbox, it's open world, because from the beginning you could just drive wherever you want.
Yeah, and there is a difference between open world and Sandbox. Because open world, the world is open to you. Sandbox, for me, and feel free to debate me on this one, but I think that GTA 3 is the first Sandbox game.
Yes.
Because GTA 3 not only lets you into this open world, but see, the thing is that GTA 3 is Sandbox, but not open world. Because you have to advance in the story to open the second series, and then you have to advance that.
Because there's multiple sections that you're only in one part of the city due to bridge construction or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But GTA 3 is a Sandbox game because they created this world in which you can kind of make your own game.
Yeah.
Because you can run from the cops, you can be a cop, you can be an ambulance driver, a taxi driver. Like there's so many different things, and you can kind of make your own game within the game, and it allows you that freedom. And in a sandbox, I mean, all you have is these tiny pieces of dirt. You make your own thing. You make your own castle. You make your own buried person in the sand. I mean, that's what you do. You kind of have the freedom to make it yourself.
Yeah, Elder Scrolls I think is a really good example of that. Getting access to everything from the get go. And don't count
so
DLC.
This would be both.
It's both, because you have an open world game. Everything's open from the beginning. You can do whatever you want. I mean, you can talk to... Well, hold on. Elder Scrolls, you can't kill certain NPCs.
Okay,
so
there are going to be limits, but I would still count that as Sandbox because there's so many different things that you can do within the world.
Yeah, you can like for Skyrim, you can unfortunately you can't build a house anywhere. You can build a house. You can buy houses. You can furnish the houses.
Yeah.
You can go around. You could play a game where you just
put
start
buckets on merchants' head.
Yes.
And rob them blind.
You can play like someone went through and did like I don't know if you play through, I don't know what you call it, but he went and murdered everybody that you can murder in the game. and so
that
like
is awesome.
Yeah, so I mean there's so much to do in a sandbox game that it can be overwhelming. But when it comes to open world games, not sandbox games, I think one of my favorite series is King's Quest.
Okay.
Because the original King's Quest on PC, now it's open world, but you may get caught, you may do something wrong, but it's still open to you. You can go wherever you want. The wizard or whoever may come in and catch you because you didn't do something in the right order.
Okay.
But you could still go out. When I was little playing the game on PC, this game came out in was 86 or so.
Yeah.
So playing on DOS. And
DOS.
And playing King's Quest and 2 and King's Quest 3, and I didn't know what order you're supposed to do stuff in, and the wizard would leave Graham and like King's Quest 3, the wizard like leaves and he's like, I'll be back, and don't do anything, whatever, I want this chamber pot cleaned or whatever. So you like
So wait, King's Quest 3 is Fantasia?
Basically, but you have to do other stuff too. Like he'll come back, like he asks you to do something, and then he comes back like randomly, or not randomly. It seemed randomly to me. And he comes back, and if you're not in the house, he flips his shit, and he turns you into a chicken, or he kills you, or turns you into a slug. But if you're in the house,
wizards.
Yeah, if you're in the house, then he'll come back and he'll be like, I have returned and I am hungry. Fix me dinner. So you have to go in and fix him dinner. And if you don't fix him dinner, he again turns you into a fly or whatever. So it's an open world game that you have all these weird quirky things because it's old PC game, but at the same time. The openness and being able to go into town and talk to different people and buy different weird things, like I thought was really cool and very innovative at the time. The earliest Elder Scrolls games, the first Elder Scrolls game, was open world. It wasn't quite sandbox, but it was open world random generated.
Yeah.
Which to me sucks because it's like, when does it end? And it just keeps going, and it's like if Diablo wasn't as tight when it came to the design, because Diablo's not open world.
No.
So.
But as far like, I think kind of the ultimate incarnation of both of these, open world and sandbox, has to be Minecraft.
Yeah.
Because you can go anywhere and do anything, and you make your own game.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there have been other games that wander around. In the chat we have Space Quest.
Space Quest was amazing.
Yeah, Space Quest was pretty fantastic.
I loved Space Quest. I think the humor in Space Quest is better than in King's Quest. I like the gameplay better as well. I didn't get Space Quest until I was a little bit older, but Space Quest took me longer to appreciate than King's Quest.
Yeah.
Because I think it's part of it is because I was a kid, and you're being left alone. King's Quest 3 particularly, we're being left alone, and you can do whatever you want, but if you get caught...
You can do whatever you want, but there's a big, giant, chicken-shaped asterisk.
Yes, there is, and if you get caught, then it's a problem, so it's like, I gotta do all this stuff, and I gotta put stuff back, which I thought was it's appealing when you're a kid, because you're like, I'm doing something naughty, and I'm not gonna get caught, so...
Right.
Space Quest was great, though.
As far as like, open world and or sandbox, what... And my question to you is, which one are you looking forward to most in the near future?
So I like both for different reasons.
Okay.
To me, I think that open world can work a lot better because given certain limitations in regards to systems, in regards to gameplay, can make for a much tighter game, where if you play an open world sandbox game like Minecraft or GTA 5, you have to make it really freaking good, where you have all these systems, they all work really well, they're all fun,
and when you're encouraging your player to explore as much as a sandbox one does, you need to make sure that things work when they get there.
Yes.
Which is why Rockstar takes forever to make their games, because when they come out, they want them to work and run
when
around.
Red Dead came out, it was amazing from the get-go. Fallout 4, I only had a couple problems with, but Bethesda gets buggy.
Death claws falling through the world. And
it happened a couple times, but I think that Fallout was a great example where you can get fatigue on how much there is to do in that game.
Yeah.
There are so many amazing things to do in the game, but if you want to do them all, or if you keep following side quests, if you have ADD and you keep going off on side quests and you don't do the main quests, then you can get fatigue on it. I think that while it's not a open world game, I think that Mass Effect is a great example of this, where you have a game that seems very open. I mean, when you get into a specific stage, it's very open in regards to that. But the way that they've constructed the gameplay and the story helps you. Even though you're boxed in, it helps you feel like you're making decisions that really matter. Yeah. And I think that some limitation is needed to have either it's a gameplay limitation, story limitation, because if you have GTA 3 is a great example of that, where you don't have a ridiculous amount of NPC quest givers. You have basically a main story. You have a couple side quests, but it keeps you going in a specific line.
Yeah. And most of those quest givers will only give you 2 or 3 that do kind of help define the world and give you like bonuses, like there'll be something new at your hideout or whatever. So there's a reason to do them.
Yeah.
Because after a certain point, money doesn't really matter anymore. Yeah. But the stories are interesting. My favorite ones from GTA 3, and they actually revisited this in Liberty City Stories, which came out on Vita, was all the quests that she did to get his mom's love. Yeah. And she was like, well, Tony down the street, I mean, he looks after his ma. And that was just fun. And that was a horrible collaboration of accents, and I apologize. I'm not good at American accents.
He's not good at any accents.
That's not true. Y'all, I'm actually working on a story. I'm doing a audio book, and the main character is a boy from East Texas. And that one's actually going to be pretty easy because my mom has an East Texas accent that comes out more often whenever she's talking to people from over there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Alex Wooten, I talked to him, and I don't know if mine comes out deeper then, but the main character from that story is going to have an accent similar to this one, and it's legit.
It works. It works.
So yeah,
I hadn't heard you do that. One thing
nobody has, because I worked really hard to get rid of that accent, because there were elements of it that I used to have, and I wanted to get into radio, and it actually. I mean, I'm kind of in radio now.
Yeah. Journalism.
But yeah, so I actually worked on region free diction.
Yeah, which is very important. Yeah. It's not just a joke from Anchorman. Like,
exactly.
The non-regional diction is actually important when it comes to broadcasts like this. Which.
But anyway, going back to the question that I asked you like 10 minutes ago, and then you went off on a tangent.
I didn't. I answered the question.
You didn't even come close to answering the question.
You said, what do you look forward to most? Mine
is Shadow of War.
Oh, what game? I thought you meant just in general.
No.
Oh, okay.
So Shadow of War is like kind of a mix of like. I think it's going to be a mostly open world, definitely a sandbox, because while you're running around, all of these random things are going to happen, and I'm going to get attacked by my nemesis, and I'm going to chop their heads off, and it's going to be wonderful. Yeah. Because I've gone back, since we started this channel, I don't replay games very often.
Yeah.
But I'm replaying Shadow of Mordor, and I can't stop because it's wonderful.
It's an excellent game.
It's so good.
It's excellent. I think that the gameplay and the combat is very it's the very Batman Assassin's Creed-esque combat, but it's very tight.
And the Batman or the
Arkham, whatever you call it. Yeah.
Right. But the Assassin's Creed movement works so much better outside of a city.
It does.
And when you have the open world and it's not so constrained, there's like walls or a stump or a rock or something, and it works a lot better in that.
The
scenario.
vaulting over stuff and everything.
Yeah. Did you see the Shelob trailer?
Yes.
And they're going so far into the lore, and it makes me happy.
I love it. It disappoints me that Christian will not be playing this, because he said that because he didn't like the handling of the Tolkien lore in the first one, and
they had access to the Tolkien lore, but they weren't allowed to do the books or the movies.
Yep.
That considered, I think they did pretty darn well.
Yeah, I think so. So because you took what would have been my choice for the question, I'm gonna put on there Destiny 2. because one of the things that I liked Destiny, but my biggest hangups for Destiny was the lack of a really good story, the repetition, the fact that all I was doing was like the main quests, if you will, and then random strikes that made no sense, because it was just like, hey, if there's a strike, why am I doing this? It's a strike. Who's gonna be there? Just strike it.
You're supposed to strike.
Just strike it out.
Go strike.
And they're fixing this with Destiny 2, which is very Destiny 1.5. My video, I'm gonna put up a video on Destiny later this week about that. But they spoilers for that. They are going to have these adventures, which are NPC side quests in the game, which I think is great. I hope that. I think it'd be cool for rewards. Obviously, you want to give a reward, but to continue to give a lived-in world where there are more people than the enemies and the other people playing online. I need more than that. Unless I'm in the main city, I think that the two of that you need more than just the battle that's going on, because other NPCs should be in the battle as well. And they have
this is important stuff that's happening,
and they have reasons that they're in the battle. So having that in the game and the additional story, I think is going to be really good. State of Decay 2 also, I think that State of Decay 2 is going to be great.
Robbie Drew in the comments.
State of Decay was a great game that and I agree.
It allowed you to kind of make your own, and you get to go into this world and be like, okay, what do I want to do? Not what is the game telling me to do, what am I supposed to be doing, but what do I want to do in this world? And you have the ability to kind of make your own thing. And it was really fun for me to see with State of Decay all the player-driven stories that came out of that, because there were so many people doing so many different things. And I think that was the one that I saw a video one time where somebody just walks up, hands somebody else a gun, and then just see what happens.
See what happens. Yeah.
And that type of freedom, giving that to your players, and then just saying, you do what you want to do.
Like
let me and show me.
I have seen so many weird, when State of Decay 2, and it reminded me of this, was the weird stories out of DayZ. Where how dark the internet can be, how dark humans can be giving anonymity. I have seen all kinds of weird, depraved things that people have done or made other people do. Because you're given anonymity. So I like sandboxes. I love sandboxes, but they have to be done right in order to keep me interested. And so that's why I like open world, even a limited open world, like you said, GTA 3, where it's like, oh, you can explore all of this area.
And it's a giant area.
Let's go over it. Yeah, Dark Souls is a great example of that as well. Explore all of this. Oh, you beat that boss? Now you have this huge other area to open up with, which I think is great. So let us know in the comments what some of your favorite open world games and sandbox games, and whether or not you agree with our choices or our definitions.
And our assessment of what is open world, what is sandbox, and let us know what you anticipate.
Yeah.
So we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.